Yeah, so for me, there are a couple of things that I'm looking at. I would be looking at this area right here. So this is kind of a major, remember, this was your pivot low of 2021 before the second move up. So that's going to be really a lot of resistance. You have this level that we broke down on. So if we got back above this and held above 40,000, then I think you have to say the next run is probably in place for 100,000. And I think 100,000 to me is your next spot. And one of the things I'm looking at here is this trend line right here, right? So wherever this trend line is when Bitcoin gets up there, that to me would be the next resistance of the cycle, right? Connecting these high pivots here.
Gareth Soloway, a seasoned trader and respected technical analyst, has set his sights on a lofty price target for Bitcoin. Over the past year, Soloway has shared his cautious outlook on not only Bitcoin, but also other top cryptocurrencies and assets such as stocks and oil. This skepticism was largely driven by the unfavorable macroeconomic conditions which have plagued markets since the start of last year. However, Soloway now predicts a three-layer trajectory for Bitcoin. In the short term, he foresees a slight dip to the range of $9,000 to $12,000 before a gradual recovery takes place in the first half of 2023. This will be followed by the start of a bull run, which Soloway believes could easily drive the price of Bitcoin to an unprecedented $100,000 per coin. In a recent interview with the Crypto Factor, Soloway delves into his chart-based price predictions for Bitcoin and other leading cryptocurrencies such as Ether, Polkadot, and Avalanche. He also sheds light on the current state of the US economy and how it will likely impact asset prices in the coming year. Here's more of what Soloway had to say, but before we do that, if you like finance videos, please support our channel by liking the video, subscribing, and dropping your questions or comments below.
Yeah, so just to go over kind of how I've positioned myself at this point is I still have a position long in Bitcoin, right? So the target on that is still 25,000 or so, this resistance level. I do have a position on Polkadot as well, DOT USD here. And again, same kind of thing. If it gets up into this range here or this area here, I'm going to unload that. Now, I do have short signals out there. One of them is Solana. Solana, I'm in from about $25.50 on the short side. That's in the money a little bit here. And there's just so many resistance levels on Solana right up here. Avalanche I put out as a sell short yesterday. And again, we're in the money slightly here off of this resistance area here. And then also Ethereum. I actually think that Ethereum very likely topped out when it topped this pivot here. And again, we're short on Ethereum, slightly in the money as well. So ApeCoin, I mean, to me, it looks like it's kind of, so it looks like right over here. In fact, it looks like we can go from right over here and draw this trend line, right?
Yeah.
And look at where we are right now. So we're right into that level. So is it building a bull flag? That's the question, right? Is it you know, you don't want to see it pull back too much because it would negate the bull flag. Right now, there's a possibility of that. My only concern here is that there's been this reemergence of this kind of, you know, crazy, maniacal kind of buy everything mentality, right? Yeah. If you look at charts like Bed Bath Beyond, right? Bed Bath Beyond, look at the run it's had. It went from $1 and change to $6. If you look at AMC, GameStop, Tesla, I mean, Tesla's had a huge run up until today's sell-off of 75%. So my worry is that when you look at something like an ApeCoin, are you seeing that kind of craze of everyone just rushing in, and then does it last, right? So, and this is one of the things that I was talking to my traders about today, is that you can't look like the retail crowd wants to believe that this is 2021 again, and it's going to be everything just going up and up and up and up. But you have to remember, things are different. You have a bear market. You have the Fed interest rates at 5%. The Fed is sucking liquidity. So you don't have the same makings. The government's not sending checks. Like in the US, they were sending checks out to us. So there's a lot of differences between now and then. So you can't expect the same result in something like a Tesla or an ApeCoin. Yeah, so Tesla hit some resistance on Friday, which again, you know, it ran up so much, it was due for a pullback. So that was kind of, you know, what to be expected. Now, if it has one more run, the $200 level is going to be a big level right here, and these tops right here. A couple other things, I continue to be bullish on natural gas. I got bullish right around $3 on natural gas. It's a little bit below that now. Let me bring it up now here, but I continue to really like this chart. It's just so oversold. You have a mass exodus, right? So basically when we were trading north of $8 to $10 per cubic foot or whatever they measure a natural gas in, you basically had a scenario where every institution thought this was a no-brainer trade. Everyone thought, oh, Europe's going to be in so much trouble, everything like that. And now you're seeing the unwind of that. And that's why this is this oversold. But you are starting to come into some major support right down here, right? All of this consolidation and you're basically right in that vicinity. So I think this is due for a technical bounce. It's not a long-term investment, but 20-30% bounce in natural gas to me is a no-brainer.
Think it's going to fill that gap?
Yeah, I don't know about the gap. Would be amazing. I mean, if we rallied that much, that would be tremendous. I would even be happy for just a trade back here to around 360, this pivot low right here. Yeah, so the big question I have, right, is and this is what everyone's been asking, is this a new bullish move in the market? Is there a new bull market on the S&P 500? I personally don't think so. And then the reason why it's not proven yet, and remember, everything we do is chart related, is that so far you have the high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. We haven't made a higher high yet. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a beautiful bear market rally, but it hasn't taken out this pivot high here to tell us that it's anything other than that. And maybe it will on the Fed. We don't know. Maybe later this week it will. Or does it start to roll over? And I eventually think the S&P is coming down to this level down here, and eventually the long-term trend down here. And remember, markets work, and there's some sort of synergy. There's kind of like an equilibrium where when we're above trend for so long, and you can see that above trend, as long as the Fed was printing money, we were always above trend. It makes sense in the very least we have to come back to trend, right? And the trend is right here. Yep. So I'm in exactly that camp, is that I think there's very little downside on the dollar left here in the near term. And I think we're due for a bounce in the dollar, which also, as we know, is a negative for risk assets, right? It's a negative for the stock market. It might be a negative for crypto as well. So it also gives that basis for why I'm starting to nibble on some shorts in the crypto market as well as the stock market.
Thank you for watching our video. For more finance content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And remember, when in doubt, just hodl.